Welcome to Advent. Welcome to the in-between time. Advent, the 4 weeks before Christmas, might be my favorite season of the church year. It's a season of preparation for Jesus coming into the world, both his birth in Bethlehem 2,000 years ago and his coming again sometime in the future. In between these two poles of past and present and future is the present where we live. This in-between time is when we are waiting for Jesus to appear. We're getting ready for Jesus, lighting one more candle each week as we make more and more space in our hearts and lives for him. We're looking for Jesus, trying to see his face in people around us, watching for signs that he is on the way. But we have been waiting for Jesus to come again for a very long time. Perhaps we're getting discouraged and frustrated. Perhaps we're losing hope. We need him so badly in this broken, hurting world. Where is he? Why isn't he here with us now? The gospel writer Luke knows what that is like. We'll be hearing Luke's gospel for most of the coming year, with a few detours into John from time to time. Luke wrote down his gospel around the year 85, maybe a bit earlier, maybe a bit later, 50 or 60 years after Jesus' death and resurrection. At that time, the Roman Empire still ruled the land we know as Israel and Palestine with the heavy hand of complete domination. Still, despite the Jewish revolt against Rome that began in the year 66. That revolt seemed promising for a while, until the Roman army got reinforcements and began subduing the rebels with brutal efficiency. In 70, the Romans put Jerusalem under siege for 7 months, then broke the city walls, killed or enslaved the people, burned the city, and demolished the magnificent temple. It was a devastating loss for Jews and Christians alike. Their hope of a future free from Roman oppression was gone. The Christians thought, surely Jesus will return any day now. He promised he would, and we need him now more than we ever did before. But the days passed. Weeks and months turned into years and decades. The Romans reestablished their chokehold over the country, squeezing tighter than they had before the revolt. Usually Rome allowed their subjects to rebuild temples, but not this time, not in Jerusalem. The center of the city remained a pile of rubble. After 15 years or so, Luke's community is losing hope. They want to trust in Jesus' promise, but they can't see any prospect of change. They wonder whether Jesus is really coming back. Luke reassures his people. The signs of Jesus' coming will be clear. They'll be in the heavens and on the earth and in the sea. You know how every spring you notice the trees budding out? The way the bare brown wood suddenly turns green with new leaves and you know summer is near? The signs of Jesus' return, the signs of the coming of the kingdom of God will be that obvious. You'll see them and you'll know right away what they mean. Heaven and earth will pass away, but Jesus' words and his promises will endure. In this in-between time, be on guard so that your hearts are not weighed down. You might want to drown your sorrows or worry obsessively. Don't let yourselves do that. Stay alert. Focus on Jesus' words. Pay attention to the signs. And when you see them, stand up. Raise your heads, for your redemption is drawing near. That's a point Luke makes throughout his gospel. In Jesus, redemption is drawing near. Jesus finds whatever is lost and brings them home. Lost sheep, lost coins, lost sons. When people are lost, when they are doubting and worried and afraid, Jesus finds them and brings them home. Jesus embraces everyone, poor people and people possessed by demons and sick people whom society has pushed out, tax collectors and sinners whose own actions have pushed themselves out. When people are on the margins, sure they don't belong, Jesus embraces them and puts them at the center. Jesus threatens the powers and principalities of this world. He casts down the mighty from their thrones and lifts up the lowly. He makes the first to be last and the last to be first. When people are beaten down and struggling, Jesus turns the world upside down. And Jesus saves people wherever he goes, his entire life, from his presentation in the temple when he's a few days old to his promise of paradise to a thief as he is dying. Jesus is saving people. Jesus doesn't have to do anything to save. His presence saves as he brings the kingdom of God near. All you need to be saved is the presence of Jesus. And Jesus is here. Luke reminds his people of that. Jesus is here. Yes, we're still waiting for his dramatic advent at the end of time. But Jesus makes thousands, millions of small advents every day. You just have to look for him and you will find him. Like on the evening of Jesus' resurrection, 2 of his disciples were walking to the village of Emmaus, and a stranger joined them on the road and stayed for dinner, and only as he took bread, blessed it, broke it, and gave it to them did they realize it was Jesus. That happens all the time. Jesus is always here with us, if only we will notice him. Most of the time, we're too caught up in our own lives to be aware of his presence. So keep your eyes open. Be alert. Jesus is constantly coming among us to find the lost and bring them home, to embrace everyone, to shake up the powers and principalities of this world, to save people with his presence. So don't be weighed down with fear and anxiety in this in-between time, Luke says. Raise your heads. Your redemption is drawing near. Each day that passes, we are one day closer to Jesus coming again with power and great glory. We don't know how long we'll wait, but the signs will be there, just like a tree coming into leaf in the spring. And each day, Jesus comes among us in smaller, subtle ways, in a tiny bit of yeast that makes an entire loaf of bread rise, in a foreigner who stops to help a person left for dead, in a surprise guest at dinner. Look for Jesus, and you will find him. You'll find the kingdom of God that he brings near. This is why I love Advent, because it's real and it's hope. This in-between time, after Jesus' birth in the past, before his coming again in the future, can be terrifying. It certainly was for Luke's community. It might be for us. Advent tells the truth about our broken, hurting world. In this season, perhaps more than any other, we see so clearly that with all the suffering and fear and sometimes out-and-out evil around us, we need the saving presence of Jesus. Advent also tells the truth about hope. God has not abandoned us to suffering and evil. This messed up world is not the end of the story. Jesus has come to us and will come to us and is coming to us all the time. That is our hope, that Jesus is here with us and that he is saving us. We see this broken, hurting world in the light of Jesus' presence. And when we stay alert, when we look for Jesus, when we follow his light, we are saved. Welcome to Advent. Welcome to the in-between time. We're still waiting for Jesus' coming in power and great glory, even as we find him here with us, in yeast and good Samaritans and surprise guests. So we stand up, we raise our heads, for our redemption is drawing near.